Blactrospective beauties and my Blactrospective brothers. Welcome back to Blactrospective. I'm your host, Ma B. Over the years, not over the years, over the past episodes actually, we've explored the issues shaping our community, from housing to public safety to civic engagement and local leadership. Tonight we're looking more so ahead. Anyone who has spent time in Central Florida or have been in Florida as long as I have been, there's always a new neighborhood popping up, new businesses, new construction, new residents. So all this surmises to Orlando is constantly growing. But the growth brings important questions as well. Who benefits from that growth? How do we support local entrepreneurs while attracting new investments? How do we improve infrastructure without losing the character of our communities? And how do we ensure the opportunity reaches the people who already have been holding it 10 toes down in Orange County and call it home? Tonight's conversation is about the future that we're building and who gets to be a part of it. So let's get into it.
Hello, everyone. I am Ish, and tonight our guest is Shannon Currie, who is a candidate for the Orange County Commissioner, District 7. Shannon has built her career around business development, entrepreneurship, and community engagement with advocacy at organizations like Florida Rising. Her campaign focuses on supporting small businesses, preparing Orange County for future growth, and ensuring that opportunity reaches communities across the district. As part of our ongoing civic re-education series, we're continuing our conversation with local leaders about issues shaping Orlando voters and the future of our county. Shannon Currie, welcome to Blactrospective.
Hey girl, hey.
Hey girls, hey, how's it going?
How are you?
How are you?
All is well. We are in the height of, campaign. Vote by mail ballots will be going out in just a few days. So everybody, if you want your ballots to be mailed, please reach out to the supervisor of elections and make that request. So please do it. But all things have been going well. We are working hard to get in front of voters, of course, seeking the support and just putting the work in, which is required for something that's worthwhile.
Yeah, you've been I've seen you almost everywhere, I'm pretty sure. So I know that you've been running around and just really engaging with the community. But before I saw you as Shannon Currie, the candidate, I actually knew you prior to that. In fact, when they brought up your name, I was like, I didn't know you by name at first. I always considered you the kind-faced woman that worked at Florida Rising. Like, you always had a gorgeous smile. You always welcomed us when we went to those events, and I was just like, I remembered you because of that. Like, we didn't have many conversations, but you always illuminated kindness.
Thank you. People remember how first impressions are lasting impressions, and I kind of count it to how I was raised, and that do unto others as you would have them do unto you, just really taking that seriously. And that's how I carry myself. That's a part of my makeup. That's a part of my character, my fiber. So it happens naturally. Who should I be mad at, right? And if I am mad, I'm sure you didn't do it. And so that's like the mindset for me, is that I ask for joy every day, regardless of circumstances or situations. I ask for joy because I feel like it helps you think clear, because you're not thinking like defensively. You're thinking strategically, and it's self-care for me. So I'm glad that you noticed that. That's just a natural core of my fiber, and so I'm glad that resonated with you. And and it's been consistent. So
Yes. Yes.
I'm glad that I'm just glad that good people are joining in the race, and it's not a dig at anybody that's currently in the seat. And let's be clear, this is a new district first and foremost, brand spanking new.
brand new.
There's a lot of people in the race with you. I thought that it was going to be reduced to like maybe 3 or 4 after qualifications.
So we thought.
Yeah. I don't know what the exact count, but I think it was still like 13. Yes. Okay. Yes. All right. So, like District 7 candidacy, Orlando continues to experience rapid growth. So, from your perspective, what opportunities does the growth create, and also what challenges come with it? Like, tell us the good, the bad, the ugly.
Yeah, man, I tell you, like you said, Orange County is growing. Like, it is inevitable. We see it every single day. And we have to have like an intentional approach to this. You know, I believe that we have to ensure smart growth. We have to ensure that we are communicating to the community, especially in those areas that will be impacted by the growth. The good is that it's definitely going to create opportunity. You know, opportunity may look like higher paying jobs, jobs period, you know, career, because I think there's a difference between a career and a job, right? So it's going to create some jobs, and it's going to create some career path for our community. It's definitely going to, well, I'm going to save this thought for later, because that'll lead into like the stuff that will probably negatively impact us. But, you know, it with the development that's happening in Orange County, you know, it's definitely attracting more people to move here, so our economy is going to benefit from it. And but then on the flip side of that, and I don't want to say negative, but you know, on the other perspective, I'll say that of that is, with the growth, you're going to the traffic that we already deal with will heighten, you know, negatively on our time and our ability to get from just point A to point B that should have been 15 minutes is now 45 minutes. You know, traffic is going to be still, and we see it even now, impacted in such a way that you'll experience more congestion, longer drive times, and that's a hindrance to community. Especially to those communities that are kind of like drive-through shortcut communities, where some of those roads that are like the 2-lane roads that are for local drivers are now attracting drivers that's just trying to cut from wait time, you know, and traffic jams and stuff. And so that has a negative impact on the peacefulness and the integrity of some of our neighborhoods. And so you see that change. You know, another thing with the development, increasing development in Orange County, is that you will begin to see more concrete, you know, in places where you used to have trees and grass and shrubbery, you know, and things like that. You begin to lose the character of, you know, of some of our communities, and that's a concern too. So with increased development that's happening, it's impacting our roads, it's impacting our drive time, it's impacting the integrity of our communities, and with that, just a lot of things begin to kind of unfold. When you get more concrete, then there's flooding issues, you know, and now we're talking infrastructure. And one of the things that I'm really, really passionate about and want to make sure that I have some type of effect on this is ensuring that we're able to upgrade our infrastructure, because unfortunately we have to catch up. In a lot of cases, we need to catch up now. So we got to upgrade, enhance our infrastructure to catch up, and then get ahead of development so that development isn't outpacing our infrastructure. And so in infrastructure are a lot of things, whether it's pedestrian safety, traffic flow, stormwater, all of those things we have to consider even more because of the pace of development. So that's kind of like the good and bad and ugly. It's great because you're going to have something to do. I moved here from Chicago, and I never wondered what I was gonna do. I just wondered, like, where am I gonna do it? Because there were so many options. And I see Orlando, like, it won't be a Chicago, of course, but it's gonna have like a lot of options for people, like kind of whatever you are into. There's an opportunity there, but I want to be careful to not lose the integrity of those neighborhoods that just like how they've always been. Our tenured residents that built their homes in those neighborhoods that, maybe on one street maybe only had 10 neighbors, but now they may end up having 25 neighbors. And people are afraid of that, and so we have to figure out a way with this increase of development how to respect our neighborhoods and the quality of life that people anticipated, like what they fought hard and worked hard to achieve. We really have to find a way to protect those things. So that's the good and the bad and the ugly.
You summed that up really well. I appreciated you talking about like the concrete, because that was the thing when I was visiting here, when I moved away from Orlando and I was just visiting. Every time I came back, more trees were going away, and that is something that I wonder about. Yeah. Because even at our early adolescence, we know that trees provide the air, and even when it's a hot day, I know you've been out there canvassing, you can tell the difference when you're standing under a shade.
Yes.
So
yes.
That is a good question on as far as how do we preserve that while still allowing us to grow, because I can't do any less trees.
Yeah. The trees are important. For so many reasons, not just aesthetically, but for your health. When we think about like our vulnerable populations, like our mature populations, what I call them, not seniors, but like your 70 and 80, those folks that still like to get out and walk for exercise and to maintain, their health and well-being. When you remove the very thing that gives us life, like the natural thing that gives us light, which is just refurbished air, that the trees clean the air, dish it out. When we hinder those things, it doesn't just impact us getting from point A to point B, but it impacts our health, our ability to cool off, have clean air, clean water, and so it is important for us to figure out, like, how do we protect those things? What kind of conversations do we have to have? And to me, then we start talking about accountability. And like I said before, it's inevitable that Orange County is going to grow. Leaps and bounds, it's going to grow. But we have to have that intentional conversation of protecting our natural environment the best way we can. And if that means fight for it, then you know where I came from. And so we ain't got no problem with that, but we have to fight for it. And years ago I sat on the planning and zoning board. And that's when I realized that a lot of things that at that time were happening were already in the playbook years ago. right? And then now here it is coming to fruition, and then community is like, wait, what? Wait, what's happening? It's already been in the plans and approved 15, 20 years ago. I think those conversations are really, really important for community to know, like, hey, this is what was approved. You probably didn't know or didn't pay attention, but now we got to talk about it. And we have to talk about what next steps, or maybe if there's something that needs to be challenged, or just let's have a deeper discussion. I feel like that's really important, and I will bring that type of leadership as county commissioner, is transparency and honesty. Like, hey, I need to make you aware this is what's going on. We're gonna figure out if there is anything we can do about it or not. We still got to communicate and strategize. I think anything can be strategically thought through, but it's awareness. And one of my priorities is in our environment. I think that environmental justice is a basic need that is so many things about our everyday that we cannot allow any element of environmental justice, whatever that is, our air, our water, our zip code, our infrastructure, where our schools are located, all of that is a part of it. Landfills, all of that needs to be up for discussion to make sure that we are protecting the well-being of our communities and our neighborhoods.
And briefly on that, for me, I grew up in a very small town, Florida, and even going more into central Orlando, downtown area, you see more of the buildings and the concrete already. But there's so many areas, like even 20 minutes from there, that is heavily populated by neighborhoods, and there used to be so much wildlife there that you are now seeing the wildlife walk around through neighborhoods.
Because where are they going to go?
Right.
You just took their home away.
Yep.
So when they want to become your neighbors, now what?
Yeah.
So,
and I feel like
and then
that's
it's a
always
problem.
like one of the last things to be thought of on the environmental scope, on how that's going to impact these neighborhoods as well. Especially when like you are kind of distant from that downtown area, trash doesn't run as frequently, and now they cut down all the trees in the area. Bears are going through their stuff that's been out for a whole week. Like, there's so many things that don't get discussed.
And see, those things, that's under that umbrella of environmental justice. Just considering how neighborhoods are being serviced, that has a huge toll on our well-being and our quality of life. Hold on just a second. My daughter is gonna walk past. Go ahead. Okay, I didn't want to be unprofessional and have people in the background and stuff. But yeah, unfortunately, this is something that every neighborhood has to think about. As people are either selling off their land or land that was already owned by governing bodies are now like, hey, developer, here's an opportunity. So it's just being able to structure the right conversations so that we can get the answers that is needed, and then be able to figure out what does moving forward in the vein of protecting communities, what does that look like? So many times, I was having a conversation with someone today. Actually, they are a candidate for another, not for District 7, but they are a candidate for public office. And I was really, I don't know the word that I want to, it didn't ruffle my feathers, but the awareness was, so this is how y'all think, like that. And it was, they were asking me my thoughts about a particular project, and and I said, this community is tired of people, organizations doing things to them, thinking that they're helping and not truly hearing their voices. And her response was, well, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, look at, it's gonna, they're just here to help. Is that just a problem? And I told her I don't like using the term just, because it's not cut and dry. So it's not, well, it's just this. No, it's a gambit of things that causes pushback. So if you want to know why you're getting pushback, then it's like backwards planning. Start planning backwards. Start thinking backwards of, okay, this happened and they responded this. Okay, this happened. Probably because you weren't really listening. You were just doing. You were doing, and here I just used the just word, but that's a problem. And we can't bottle things under one thought process, thinking that you're doing something good for a community that you never went to the community and asked what good looks like. So when we go into these small communities and these neighborhoods that are like, whoa, hold on now, even though you're putting an apartment building over there, those extra 1,200 units will probably have 2 cars each. You're going to take away our covering, our tree canopies and things, because you need a space to put sidewalks and parking lots. They're going to come over in our community. And then you think about the wildlife. Where are they going? Well, they're going to come in the community too, so we just have to be able to ask the right kind of questions, and people are looking for leadership that have the ability to uphold the just the goal of, let's figure out how we're going to work together, and the goal of the people in mind. And I think that's important for us to be able to solve problems and then prepare for what's happening in the future, is to engage.
Thank you. I totally agree. Like, so many things are affecting the people that are living in these communities. One of the big things that I know has been coming up in the communities is housing affordability across Central Florida. From your perspective, what are the root causes of housing pressure many residents are facing right now?
Girl, that question is loaded. To find a root cause, there is a bunch of causes. You can't nail it down, unfortunately, because the affordability, hold on, let me go back. Affordability crisis, housing crisis, that's what you asked me, right? Root causes of the housing crisis. Is that
Correct.
Right? There are so many things that we can't begin to hand out. Sometimes people are 2 paychecks from being unhoused. Sometimes it may be a medical situation that forces somebody to have to make a decision. Do I get surgery or pay my bills? Or some people have jobs even now that if you don't work, you don't get paid. So they're working just to keep steady income coming in. There are so many things that affect people that could be a cause of them being unhoused, not being. I tell somebody there are tons of places you can live, tons of apartment buildings that are still being built that are empty because they're unaffordable. And I don't think that is that people aren't working. People are facing their challenge, but you have our emergency response workers, you have our essential workers like our nurses and our teachers, our law enforcement. You have people that go to work to serve the community every day, our firefighters who are unhoused, who cannot afford to have an apartment because their income isn't matching up to what the rent prices are. And then not to say that in a year, the landlord is going to hike the rent up again. And while I was just making ends meet, now I can't even live here anymore. I went to an event several months ago. It was for like doctors or what have you, and learned that at this particular hospital, they're trying to build workforce housing because they had an enormous percentage of nurses who were living in their car. Crazy. In a field that is to keep us safe and healthy, keep us healthy and, our well-being in check, cannot even keep a roof over their head. This housing crisis is huge. I think the economy is a big problem. We see the economic development. We see it happening. Prices are high. You look at what's happening federally. That is definitely an impact on what happens to us locally. It's just this trickle down. It's this trickle down effect, right? What's happening on a larger spectrum dwindles down and it hits us every day. It hits our everyday life. So you look at gas prices, you look at insurance. How many people are uninsured because they cannot afford it? So there are a lot of issues that I can't say this is the root cause, because there are so many scenarios and situations that feed into an individual's story of how they got here, and it's happenstance. I don't think people plan to be homeless. Maybe there are some that prefer not, I guess, I don't know, but you have many families that need a roof over their head, and for us to have a safe and stable place to live, that's a right of ours. We live in the land of the free, right? So we should be able to have a roof over our head, a safe haven. But unfortunately, it's not the case. Things are expensive. So when we see this rampant growth, now you're looking for opportunity. I think about when I think about single parents. I don't want to say a single mother or single father. So I think about single parents, right? And needing to put their child in child care so they can go to work. You have these affordable housing, or what is it called? The rent, like you can only make so much. Income based, right? But if you make a few dollars more, you can't stay there, and that may be the very place that you need to stay to just stay afloat, because you got to go to work. You need to put your children in child care so that you can go to work, but now you can't live there because you may make too much money. That was a situation when I first moved to Orlando. That was my situation. I moved here as a single parent. I was trying to get an apartment, and thankfully my job transferred with me, right? And 2 children, single parent, I needed childcare, and I had to go to work. And the place where I saw that, okay, I can afford, and I'm saying afford it. Like I can live here, pay childcare for 2 kids, keep my job, and just stay afloat, right? Couldn't do it because I made too much money, and to me, I wasn't making enough money, because how am I going to pay the expenses of childcare for 2 children? So again, people are, their situations are, it's a part of their story, and there are so many different scenarios that are root causes for their situation of being unhoused, and I believe that as a community, we have to figure out a way, and I'm saying community including everybody, we have to figure out a way to overcome this issue of our housing crisis that we're facing locally, statewide, and federally, because it's hitting everybody everywhere.
I love that you touched on that because honestly, that was a similar experience for me too. Not necessarily where moving back here to Orlando. Like, thankfully, I had my parents as like a really great support system. But that was when I was in North Carolina. It was the same thing. I remember like they said I made $11 too much, so I couldn't get aid in childcare. um, my childcare cost more than my rent or even my car payment. so, so I definitely am familiar with that story. Um, I wanted to ask two questions, and normally we wait for the guest questions at the end, but this one is so relevant. Sonia Stevens asked, "What are some of your solutions for addressing the abandoned properties in minority neighborhoods in relation to the housing affordability crisis?" And if I could stack on that, what is your solution? What would, if you were to go into office, what would be the thing that you, what would be the first two, what would be the first, I want to say first two, for some reason two is coming to my mind, but it can be however many you want. What would be the first things that you uplift, so to speak?
Yeah. So, hey, Sonia. So, the abandoned properties, it's an eyesore. It's an eyesore. And I feel that it fits right into development, enhancement that we're experiencing, that these are opportunities that are already there. The structure is already there. How do we bring business opportunity to our entrepreneurs? Again, a part of my step one is addressing locations and opportunities for our entrepreneurs. That is a major focus because we're thinking about communities that have historically been piecemealed, apart. These are people's neighborhoods, and these are homes. These are places that people call homes. And I think for me, I will focus on those abandoned buildings to look at coding, what can possibly be there, how can we renovate the structure, how can we make it suitable for businesses to become functional again. I love the idea of keeping money in your own neighborhoods. I love that. And as we grow as a county, I also love the idea of people enhancing the appearance of where they're doing business. Because again, you want to attract business. You don't want to have well, this is my mama business, so we going just because it's mama. No, but what about people that don't know mama? What about people that are just driving through and looking for a particular service that you provide? You want it to be appealing and attractive. So looking at those abandoned structures that is, for the most part, move-in ready or may require minimal renovations or what have you, I would entertain the use of those before we build something new in a space that maybe we don't have to. So I will focus on structure enhancement, and then also those being a hub that can be, or an address or some place where new businesses can move in and we can start building the economic status of our neighborhoods. So, and that's a part of one of the few things I'll do. So remember, this is a brand new seat, so my first term is going to be short, 2 years. I think it's 2 years. So it's going to be very strategic. I know people have like these big plans, like I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that, but strategically thinking, my focus is going to be what are some right now things, and I get that from the community. Like, what are things that you need addressed right now? And it's important to focus on all of District 7 and find the commonalities. What do we have in common across the board that then I can say, this is where we're going to start, because each neighborhood has this problem. So that's going to be a start of mine. Traffic is huge. Traffic congestion flow is huge, and that's going to take some time. That's going to take some time, and that's going to take more than a term. But some of those other things that we can address is like the use of the abandoned buildings, getting some, surveying and investigating what can we do right now. That's one thing. And then looking at how do we support those services that have been serving communities forever, whether it's as triage, whether it's as supporting the youth. I will focus my attention in those areas as well. So I call them wraparound services. And granted, some wraparound services are under attack. They are. You got the, anything that serves a certain community or what have you is a target. But it's figuring out, again, across the board, how can we support all of District 7, but we have to find out, continue to look for those commonalities, our shared interests, so that we can attack it, so that that tide can float multiple boats. So I will be looking at all of my neighborhoods within District 7, finding those commonalities, and abandoned buildings is a major part of that and a priority of mine. I know based in certain neighborhoods, it may take longer because there are like major structural issues. So we need to look at grants, we got to look at investment opportunities, and we have to look at what can we collaborate on together. So I will create that thought partnership and focus on keeping the integrity of our neighborhoods and making sure that we are able to support what's offered in our community and to make sure that people are proud of where they live. So you got my two. Buildings, services.
Yes, I like that.
I was going to say, and on the building, using abandoned buildings will help a lot with that environmental area, because you already have that land cleared to be able to use it.
Absolutely. Like I said, that's right. Let's go for the structure already there versus breaking ground and using space that could support our environment and our ecosystem.
Perfect. So my next question is, so my next question is, as Orange County continues to evolve, how do we ensure long-time residents, small businesses, and historically underserved communities aren't left out of the benefits of growth? A lot of times what we witness is that, like mentioned before, infrastructure comes in and then the communities kind of get left behind. And this is Blactrospective, so I'm going to say the Black communities get left behind. So how do we preserve that? How do we uplift them without making anybody else feel excluded?
My leadership reflects a lifelong commitment to service, to connecting community resources, strengthening communities and the residents that live within it, and for those people that call, this is where I live, this is home for me. And that's one of the superpowers that I have, is to be able to coordinate partnerships. It's important for us to be at the table. I mentioned when we first started that so many times residents are disgruntled. They push back because so often organizations come in to a community to do this great big thing, to get grants, to all these things, to take care of their little kids or what have you. They get what they need and then they leave. And it leaves a foul taste in community and a sense of distrust. Like, I don't trust you coming in here. And so then they side eye everybody that come in, like, okay, so what you want from us? Because we got all the kids here, so how long you gonna be here and then you're gonna leave. So it's almost like abusive relationship, right? You can get what you want and then you're out of there. So for me, restoring trust is important, and I understand that I can't ask for it, and expect it to happen. I have to earn it. And earning that means consistently engaging community, involving their partnership and their voice, going back, and saying, hey, you asked me for this. This was a conversation. Hey, come to this meeting, or figure out, how do I bring the meeting where you are? Involvement is one of the things that I will do to ensure, to the best of my ability, that I gain allies and advocates to join me, because I believe that there's power in numbers, that if we can be on the same page, have the same goal. We may have different routes of how we get there, but if we can have the same goal in a coordinated process and plan of how we're going to move a neighborhood or a community together, then we will start shifting that concept of always being left behind. I don't believe, they used to have that no child left behind. I believe no neighborhood should be left behind, but there has to be a strategic effort. So many times what we see day in and day out, everybody got their own agenda. You work for your own organization. You only focus on your own thing. But can we have a common goal? And so you bring in your own organization, what have you, to work with everybody else. And that is important, and that's what I will adamantly pursue, so that our communities, my community, is not left behind once again. So I keep that in mind, and I'm very intentional about that. And I know it's gonna take, hey, come meet with me, or I'm coming to your house, right? I'm coming to your office, and I'm bringing some receipts with me. And we just have to be intentional, and I'll do that. I've done that. Even in my career, I have done that, and I'm not boasting, but I have really been able to bring folks together that have their own agenda, right? And their own, like, I don't need y'all with that attitude, like, and they really don't need the other organization or the other, because they can do it themselves. But just being able to create this thought partnership and this coalition of, hey, we just might be able to accomplish a whole lot more if we approach it as a team effort. And so that is the approach that I'm going to make. Very intentional about that. So again, all of District 7, and being able to coordinate with my colleagues, because again, I can just focus on, I'm representing District 7, right? But other folks got to vote on what I'm asking for. I don't want them hearing about what I want at a county meeting.
Right.
No, we got to get together, like, because guess what? Your community might need the same thing. How can we work together? How can we make sure? So that coordinated effort is what I will bring.
Yes, I love that you brought up the idea of, like, the mistrust or distrust in communities for people coming in thinking they're going to help, because oftentimes they do leave the community once they get what they need out of it. With Central Florida growing so rapidly, what do you feel like needs to happen in Orange County for young professionals and entrepreneurs to be able to thrive for, like, the generations to come?
Opportunities, entrepreneurs to thrive. Man, we gotta communicate. Oh my goodness, we have to communicate the opportunities out there. I am a huge proponent of apprenticeship programs, educational programs that let people know. So many people have businesses, and I'm just going to throw an example. you know, everybody can bake. Everybody baking cookies, cakes. You see all kind of cake businesses, right? But where are there places that baker can go and be taught a business plan? Do they even know about the African American Chamber? Or do they even know about the service center at Orange County? We got to communicate those things out. Or maybe that's going to a community center and bringing the resources there and saying, hey, if you're starting a new business, we're having a info session or what have you, and then be able to provide opportunity. I believe that what allows young entrepreneurs and young professionals to thrive is exposure. It's structured career path. What do you want to do? Ask me that, right? What do I want to do? And then, well, how do I go find the resources for that? And another thing too, everyone's not going to college, but you have vocational fields that are six-figure earners, right? We will, I don't care if we flying in the air, we need technicians.
Yep.
We still have a house, we need plumbers, we need electricians, we need welders, we need HVAC, right? And so offering those and presenting it in a way that it doesn't look like this is your option because you couldn't do that. No, this is another opportunity for you. Language is everything. Exposure is everything. And presentation is everything. And giving it in the language that speaks to your audience. I don't know, I can't age anybody, but I am Gen X. So I'm a Gen X, right? I have been in places where Gen X baby boomers are in the room with Gen Zers, you know, and millennials, and you're talking down to them. Do you not understand how brilliant these minds are? We have to respect those young professionals and those young entrepreneurs and treat them as these individuals who are our next leaders, and may not have the historical information that we are carrying, you know, kind of like the get out and vote, right? College students can care less about what is get out to vote. They care about what's my issue. Oh, I'm gonna vote because I care about that issue. I understand, get out to vote, go vote, and you can say that and I know I got it, I know what to do. But a new voter, get out to vote, what? I'm concerned about affordable housing. I'm concerned about, you know, not having access to education. Oh, that's on the ballot? Oh, okay. What else you want me to know about? Got it. Speaking the language is important. So I believe those points that I mentioned earlier is how we support our younger generation with the ability to thrive is opportunity, how we present it, exposure, accessibility. You know, I shouldn't have to jump through 100 hoops just to find a class or a resource. Streamline that. Tell me where it is or bring it to me. You know, and get in the platforms where they are already communicating and then share that out. So creativity is one way to then start moving those other elements.
And I know you're very passionate about the Gen Zers, because I know I saw you with your daughter out in some of the events, and me having children, I know how hard it is to get the young folks to come up to those things. So seeing that your daughter is next to your side, like that is something that I always like love.
Is seeing the youth involved, because you're absolutely right. Like they are the future. Whether we want to hear it or not, like they're gonna be the one. They're gonna be the future presidents. They're the future senators. They're the future. And they're also gonna be the ones taking care of us.
That part.
Which is why we need to include them in the conversation now, because if they feel excluded from the conversation, why would I want to take care of you? Why would I don't even know that I need to care about this thing because I don't even know how it impacts me.
Yeah, yeah. Communicating those things out is really, really important, and allowing them to be a part of the conversation. You know, they think for themselves, so give them the information and let them engage in the conversation so that they see how things impact the parent, right? But they also have to see, wait a minute, the way that this is impacting my parent, what does that mean for me? Does it make life harder, easier, or confusing? Now let's hash this out. So yes.
Beautiful. So speaking of getting out the vote, we're going to make sure that we amplify voting. So we know that, guys, early elections is August 18th. August 18th is
Election
the
day.
primary elections. Yes.
Yeah.
And why is primary elections so important? I always ask this. You guys will hear me continually asking it because I want candidates to drive home why it's important for them and for you to know at home, like, why it's so important for you. Because by the time you get to generals, you know, I'll let Shannon explain it.
Listen, your primary election, you know, you streamline the field, right? Depending on, you choose your candidate, you know, especially if there are opponents. So when you think about, when you look at District 7, there are 13 people. 13 people cannot go to general elections, right? So you have to choose your one. In this case, because there's so many, 9 times out of 10, there's going to be a runoff, you know, which will take them to the general election. And then out of the 2, you're going to choose your one. Primaries are very important because this is you saying not only who I want to represent me, but voting is using the most powerful tool you have, which is your voice. It is your voice. When people say voting doesn't count, sometimes 11 votes is the deciding factor of someone getting into office. And so I tell people, no, your vote do count. And it's you saying, I am not going to let you make a decision for me that I could very well make for myself. I can speak for myself. And then it gives you the ability, when you cast that ballot, to hold people accountable, like truly. Because sometimes I tell people that have a lot to say, did you vote? And when they say no, oh, okay, never mind. Why are you talking now?
That's so real.
Why are you talking? You ain't have nothing to say before, so stop talking, you know. Or make sure you go and register to vote. But primary elections are important because that puts your person and who brings what you believe in. I tell people to study their people. Study, don't just vote down the ballot. Don't just vote because somebody told you to vote. Like, vote that person that you're like, you know what? I always ask people, would you give me an opportunity to represent you and to hold me accountable? That's why I tell people, would you give me an opportunity to represent you so that you can hold me accountable? And so when you participate in any election, not just primary, you're saying, I am exercising my right and ability to hold you accountable. And that's what I'm going to do. So whether it's primary, whether it's general election, that's your right to do. And people fought hard for that. You know, people died for that. Communities were destroyed for that in our history. And that may not matter to, you know, people that's entering this if we're not telling the story. But I think it's important for us to tell the story. They're already trying to wipe out our history. They're already trying to make us, you know, not know the battles that we fought to get here today. And you know what? In all of those battles, we figured it out. We figured it out. And so if our voice was not so important, they would not be trying to silence it. So I tell people there is value to what you bring to the table, because if it weren't, it wouldn't be so much effort to silence what you have to say and what you bring to the table.
Exactly.
So election participation, please do it. And don't just do it because, it's something to do. Do it because your life, literally, your well-being, your future, literally depends on it.
Yes. No, you're absolutely right. I want to. We have some more questions, but you guys are going to have to see that in the transcript after, because I'm looking at the time and it's already 7:30. An hour has already passed, but I do not want to end this episode without the audience getting their questions answered.
Okay.
So the first question is from Sebastian Holden. Orlando makes traveling from place to place difficult. Toll roads are a need to get across town in reasonable time, but it's also a barrier for opportunities and growth. How can we address this? Great question, Sebastian.
So toll roads, nothing is quick anymore, but that's a streamlined access to get you from one end of Orange County, to another. Transportation in and of itself is an issue, again, due to traffic, increased development, rapid growth that we're all experiencing. And it impacts whether we're using links or Sunrail, and that and then looking at how, like, timing of everything. I rode the Sunrail from, like, here to go to Daytona, right?
Oh.
But then, and so it's used by business community. But then what about, and it's inexpensive, like,
$2.
$7 it cost me, but maybe that's inexpensive, or depending on how much you would use it would maybe be an issue. But time frames, like, it's not conducive to the working person, because what if they stop running at 9 something, but what if I work a 5 to 10 and I don't have a car, and then if it's not on the bus route, that I can then make connections. And I do think that with coordinated efforts with our state and our federal legislators, we need to look at how do we, because that's how far up that conversation goes. We do have to look at how do we find a better way for utilization of our traffic or our transportation entities. We have ride sharing, we have driverless cars, we have all of these things, but really looking at how do we get fewer cars, or how do we have fewer cars on the road, but increase usage of public transportation. We got to make sure that the cost is low. We have to figure out how to address the traffic flow and congestion situations. And then this is a part of economic development and community development. If people can live, work, and play in the same area, now you are impacting in a positive way congestion, drive time, because you don't have to go from this end of Colonial Drive, West Colonial to East Colonial Drive. You can, maybe take a Lynx bus and have one stop and you're at work, and so when we talk about, Sonia asked about the abandoned buildings, if we can literally work toward finding a way to bring opportunity in neighborhoods, that will be one way that we can make an impact on traffic and transportation.
No, that's beautiful. Thank you. The next question. I know, Mob, I see your question about is housing a commodity that should be affordable or a human right? I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Shannon mentioned earlier that it was a human right. So I just wanted to like uplift it because I see it in the chat.
Yes.
Sebastian Holden now asks, can we do more than just vote? Should we join citizen advisory boards for Orange County and the city of Orlando?
Absolutely. That's civic engagement. To find a way to be involved, because again, that shows how important your voice is, and then you're being a part of the solution. You can stay on the back burner and you know, people can stay on the back burner and complain and fuss and scream, and that's what you're doing, just, you know, complaining, fussing and screaming. But to find a way to be a part of the solution, bringing ideas, those are valuable. Again, what you have to say and what you have to offer is valuable, and those stories and those experiences are so, folks' experiences and their stories are so critical because it can literally impact change. So yes, join those, go to the meetings. You know how many people don't, you know, show up for county and city council meetings, and granted, we at work, you know, we at work, we have things to do, but you know what, they're recorded. So and who goes anywhere without their phone? I was at a meeting with a group of students, was it last week, 2 weeks ago, and they were asking, like, how do we get involved? How do we share information? And I said, when you are in your quiet time, what are you doing? And every one of them said, we're on our phone. I said, okay, so when you're on your phone, what are you doing? And one person was like, oh, I just listen to music, watching Love Island, you know, they had all these different things. And I said, let me challenge you, and if you can spend 20 minutes and go to the website of the county or the city, and they put the agenda on there, and find a topic that you're somewhat interested in, and watch it and hear what people are saying, and then go share that with a friend. That's how we change community. It's one conversation at a time. You go share, and then come together, have a conversation about it, and then go share. Come together, have a conversation, and then go share. And that's literally grassroots, how we can begin changing community. So yes, join the boards, and if that is not an opportunity, know what's going on. Be informed. Be an informed resident.
And if you can make it to the county commissioner meetings, they're on Tuesdays. They're usually at 1 o'clock, I believe, but check the website just to make sure and confirm, because sometimes those times move. But they give you an opportunity to speak directly to the commissioners and say your piece. And something that I always hear is so impactful is that, as Shannon had mentioned earlier, there is such power in numbers. But if you can't bring all of your friends because like it's in the middle of the workday, then having a representative stand in for you, like switch off, like this Tuesday, and Shanae said this in the past episode too, this Tuesday I'm gonna come in, next Tuesday you go in, and because something that was mentioned was that, you know, we find a way when we have to get somewhere else outside of work, we find a way to get there.
Always.
And yes, so this is something that impacts our daily lives, and we're seeing it, right? We're seeing it with the gas prices. We're seeing it with the rising grocery prices. We're seeing it. And honestly, it's as easy as a conversation, and I know that county commissioners can only, and I don't want to say only, they do a lot. And you never know like what you're advocating for, how much they can have pull, because, you know, as she said, they have to communicate with the state, they have to communicate with federal. So there's a relationship outside of just what's in the county and even the city of Orlando. With that, Shannon, where can everyone find you? Let them know.
Yes, visit me at shannoncurrie.com. I would love to engage with you. If you have not decided on a candidate, then I am asking you to check me out. I am humbly asking for your vote, your support. I am bringing years of experience to this, and I got some receipts. But serving is not just a passion, it is a way of life for me. So shannoncurrie.com is the website. My platforms for Facebook and Instagram is Vote Shannon Currie, and all the information is there. But I do invite you to come walk alongside me, and let's chop it up, as they say. Let's chop it up, because it is important for you to know that you. I want you to know that you have an advocate. I want you to know that you have an activist and someone who's not afraid to stand up for you. One voice, one seat at the dais at the county, but even in that one seat, I take your voices and your needs with me. So those are ways to contact me, and I hope to be able to engage you, and most importantly, I hope to be able to represent you on the County Board of Commission for District 7.
Do you have any upcoming events?
Yeah, so the Pine Hill, there's a hobnob for the Pine Hills Community Council. Is that Tuesday? Tuesday or Wednesday, I think it is. When is that? I should have that rattled off in my mind, but it's next week. It's next week.
Share the flyer with me, and I'll post it on our platform.
I got you. Oh, here. It's the 8th. Wednesday.
There you go.
You can't see it. It's Wednesday. I know it's promoted everywhere. They are anticipating like 500 to 600 people. It's going to be at the Central Florida Fairgrounds.
Wow.
It is not a free event, as I understand. If you get your tickets by Saturday, it is, so they have a July 4th special. I believe they're taking $5 off.
Okay.
So the tickets are, I think they're $25. And so for spectators, it's $20.
Okay.
It's not on here. They just have what candidates have to pay. But it's either $25 that will go down to $20 for, from today to Saturday, or it's $20 and it goes down to $15. So you get $5 off, and then the regular price goes back to effect. So I will be there. Actually, all of the candidates, like everybody who's running for office, state level, local level, judges, like tons of people will be there. It's going to be packed, probably a little overwhelming even for me. But that there is a place there. And then I walk neighborhoods literally every day. So if I'm not in meetings, I'm out there from 10 to 1, knocking on doors, and then from 6 to 8, knocking on doors. That's Monday through Saturday. And then on Sundays, I go out in the evenings, like when the sun go down, because I go to church in the mornings. So come in, we can do one-on-ones, and walk together and talk together. And so, but I am going to ask you to ask people to support Shannon Currie. So you need to believe and want to represent me, because I don't want nobody lying to nobody. Listen. But yeah, come and spend some time with me. That's the best way to do it. And I think they are doing a birthday bash for me, because I have a birthday coming up this month. They are working on the logistics, so I'll share that with you. It is a fundraiser to keep fueling this campaign, but I think it's going to be fun. So I've never had a birthday party, so this might be fun. But yeah, that's how you can get in touch with me, and hopefully and prayerfully, I am asking for your support.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. Okay, y'all. So you hear where you can find her. You hear there's an upcoming event, $20. I know y'all got $20. So, and it's an opportunity for you to meet everyone, which is great because you're putting faces to the ballot. Um, I want to say for our upcoming events, at least in Orlando, Saturday, July 4th, the African People's Socialist Party has a colonial liberalism versus colonial fascism at 11 a.m. That will be on YouTube. On Saturday, July 20th, Honest Culture has Cool the Block campaign. It's gonna be. This is also gonna be where you can get swag. You can interact with the community. It's essentially a block party. Equal Ground will continue their legislative debrief in Marion County, Ocala, Florida. So if you live close to that area, please roll up. They're really good about telling you which legislations are currently up, especially the ones that are focused in our neighborhoods. And they also tell you, like, they break it down as to what it means. As I'm saying this, the one thing that we didn't talk about that I really want to make sure we mention at this interview is the property taxes. Can you explain to folks what that is and what are your opinions as far as yay, nay, maybe?
So many of our needed services rely on property taxes. I'm not trying to be in anybody's pocket. I don't know what your need is, you know, or what have you, but I know that when you dial 911, you want them to get there in split seconds, right? To care for your crisis. If you need certain services, you want those services to be available to you. When you make a call for something, you want somebody to be on the other end. When you have a need in your community, you know, you want that need to be cared for. And there's so many things that rely on property tax because of the structure of our state. I encourage people to not vote to vote against removing property tax, because I'm gonna tell you this: they may give you encourage you to, where there are other ways that, you know, we can get these needs taken care of, but those ways have not been mentioned. But what we do know is that property tax provides these services, these needed services that we depend on. Is providing that. So until the alternative has been thought through and confirmed and know that it can meet the need, we need to leave it where it is, because there's more studies that need to be done, there's more assessments that need to be made, there's more surveys that need to be implemented, and it's not there yet. So I am asking people for their patience. $500, $2,000 a year may be a deciding factor for someone, but in my opinion, because you asked for my opinion, so to speak for the Currie household, I want a response to my call of need. I don't want, because we don't have the money to have a fire station. If my house catches on fire, I don't want to have to wait for somebody to come from Ocoee to come and put out my fire, because now it doesn't just impact me but my neighbor, where it could have been 3 minutes is 12 minutes, and now 3 houses are on fire, you know. So we just have to think broader, and if we can be patient and hold our legislators accountable with what's the plan. You know, don't just throw a noodle on the wall and see if it sticks. What's the plan? I haven't received the plan yet. So that is my opinion. So I'm speaking for the Currie household. So don't hold me to. The Currie household will not be voting against property tax. Right. We want property tax. We want to keep it like it is.
Okay, so you'll be voting no for.
No.
You'll
For
be
the
voting no.
removal of property tax. The Curry household.
The
So
Currie
you can do
household.
what you want to do. But what we gonna do in this house, in this house, this is how we voting. So we don't want property tax to be removed. And for Shannon Currie, I want to see the plan. Like, what are you thinking? I think that's important. So I haven't seen that, and so I need stay like it is.
Okay.
And without a plan, that makes perfectly good sense. I don't blame you.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, for me and my house, this is what we doing. So
We're not mad at you.
thank you.
All right, we're going to wrap this up. Tonight's conversation reminds us that local elections are deeply connected to our everyday life. Housing, affordability, development, and economic stability aren't optional political topics. They shape how people live, work, and build within their community. Understanding who makes those decisions helps voters move from frustration to informed participation. If you love this episode and want to support the work we do, please like, subscribe, and share. Now, if you're interested in behind-the-scenes content, become a supporter at Buy Me a Coffee. The link's in the bio. Special shout out to our talent director, Siasu Torre, and to our audience. Thank you for starting the hard conversations with us.
Getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, because informed communities build real change.
Stay informed, stay empowered, and as always,
Love, peace, and support Black businesses.
Hey.